Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to online classes for the grade 6 science. Today we are going to discuss about the first lesson, that is classifying plants and animals, from the chapter 1, classifying living things. We are going to see the pages 24 and 25. Please open the book from the page 24 and 25. Before moving to the page 24, let me tell you about the learning objectives of the today's lesson. We are going to see how are organisms classified. Thereafter, we are going to see that classification of Canis lupus and classification of organisms by Canis lupus, as well as we are going to see that how we can do the naming of species in scientific way. So these are the learning objectives of the today's lesson. Let's move to the further part of the lesson, that is classification of organisms, where all the organisms are classified into groups based on very basic and shared characteristics. Organisms within each group are then further divided into smaller groups, and this grouping system makes it easier for scientists to study the certain groups of organisms. So that is what we are going to see here from the page 24. How are organisms classified? So here, dear boys, Carolus Linnaeus, the Swedish botanist, scientist, developed a system to name and classify living things. He grouped organisms by their common characteristic features, and his system is still in use today. So what the Carolus Linnaeus has shown the grouping system of living things that is still in working. So here we are going to see about this, and then thereafter we are going to see the classification of Canis lupus with the naming species. So dear boys, these organisms, they are going to be get classified as living things are classified into groups that start out large and become a more specific in a system of classification. Scientists classify living things at 7 different levels. They are kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. These are the different levels of classification of living things. So let's talk about one by one how are living things classified. So they are, as I told you, they are being classified into 7 different levels of classification system, and as one goes from the kingdom to the species, that is from the top to the bottom. From the top, that is the broadest level of classification, is the kingdom, whereas the most specific, the smallest level of classification is the species. So here it means, in other words, we can say that an increase in the similarity between organisms occur from top to bottom. We go from downward, that is from kingdom to species, we are finding such kind of things. Whereas there are fewer number of different kinds of organisms that we are going to see here. So here we can say that the kingdom is the highest level of classification in the grouping system. Then thereafter the next comes, that is about the phylum, subdivision of a kingdom, that is called as phylum. Then the class, each phylum is divided into classes. Then order, each class is divided into orders, and after order comes family, each order is divided into families. Then genus, each family is divided into genera. Here we are seeing the genus to genera. Genera is the plural form of genus. So here species is the lowest level of classification, as I told you, and it represents a single type of organisms. So here, dear boys, we are going to see the different kinds of organisms here. So classification system can change, and can you guess why we can change them? So here classification system change as new organisms are discovered and as more information is gained about known living organisms. So here science is a work in progress. That means day to day, the many more things are being added in our day to day life, and that is being studied under the study of science. So things change, a new evidence is found. Whenever we are finding the new evidence for anything, the things are going to be get changed. So here we can say that even though classification is not an exact science, it is a part of almost every aspect of our lives. So here, can we classify them? Can we, which one would you choose and why from these different kinds of animals from the for the classification? Also, we can say see in the next picture here, for classifying living organisms, you can find out different kinds of organisms here. So how could you classify these living things? You can look at the picture, and it is also possible to classify them into different figures. The another thing here about the grouping of these animals which are shown in this picture. So these are the different animals. Some are the butterflies, some are birds, some are water living animals. So we have to classify them accordingly. So here I will ask you the question whether you are going to classify them in this way. This is the first way of classification of these organisms, or the other way is this is the another way by which we can do the classification of these organisms. So I hope that you are understanding from these two pictures, from this grouping system. That is, one is the grouping system where some birds are there, some water animals they are here, and they are mixed kind of things are we are finding in the first picture. Whereas in the another picture here, in the second picture, you are finding that these are the water living animals, these are the butterflies and the birds you are finding in the different groups. So this is the way we can classify these animals into different groups. So they are grouped into different groups according to their characteristic features. So with this, I am going to conclude here today's talk. I hope you understand the lesson. We will be going to study further part of the lesson in the next video. Till then, thank you and goodbye.